Hey, what's going on, everybody? Sam and the Kim here, and I'm back with another one. Today we are recording this on Monday. The Super Bowl was yesterday. It was an amazing game. Personally, I feel like it was one of the top 3 Super Bowls that we've seen. I'm only 26, so I'm kind of young, and I haven't probably seen a lot of the Super Bowls that a lot of you have seen. But personally, I'm putting it as my number 2. I have the Patriots and Atlanta at number 1. Sucks that Kyle Shanahan is a part of both these games. And then I have the Chiefs and the Niners at number 2. And then, I don't know, we can go wherever we want to go after that. But those are my top 2. That's why I put it top 3. I just feel like, I saw somebody on Twitter, they said, it was a kind of a slow game. It was pretty boring. The first quarter, I don't think anybody scored in the first quarter. And then, 10-3 at halftime. It was kind of boring. Not a lot of offense going on, a lot of defense, a lot of schematically, a lot being happening in the game. But the Chiefs came out on top. And, I feel like it did get exciting at the end. And I feel like that's what puts it in the top 3 for me, because it's like, it was slow at the beginning, but we all know what Patrick Mahomes is capable of. We all know what this 49ers team is capable of. And then when things started getting going, and it's like, oh, this is getting good. And then like that fourth quarter was amazing. And OT was amazing. I mean, that game was just amazing. I was kind of bored in the first half, and the commercials, keeping up with all that halftime show. But then, when it got exciting, it was amazing to watch and to see. I'm always an underdog guy. I think I mentioned that a week or two ago. And, I was rooting for the Chiefs to win this game. Obviously, it's crazy to say that Patrick Mahomes is an underdog, but they were a 2-point underdog in this game. And, I was rooting for them, rooting for greatness. Just like my friend Corey says, like, you can have your allegiances, but, greatness is greatness. Watching LeBron, that's greatness. And I love watching LeBron. Steph Curry, watching him win that championship in 2022. Amazing. Just witnessing greatness. That game 6 when Curry dropped 43, how can you not like that? Like, things like that just warm my heart. And to watch Patrick Mahomes kind of cement his legacy as, the baby GOAT right now and trying to chase down Tom Brady, it's just amazing to see. 3 Super Bowls at the age of 28, 3 Super Bowl MVPs, 2 regular season MVPs, 2 5,000-yard throwing seasons. Just everything he's done, he's been amazing. And to see the Chiefs be able to finish that game off, and then I feel like there was so much going on in this game as well. It's like you have the situation between Andy Reid and Travis Kelce, and then you have the situation with Rashee Rice and Patrick Mahomes, and it just feels like there's a lot of dysfunction on this team. If there was ever a time where a team had the advantage and should take advantage of things like this and have the opportunity to beat them, you would think it would have been this game. But somehow, some way, and I was kind of young throughout the beginning of Tom Brady's era. I'm 97, and Tom Brady won his first championships in like 03, 04, and I think 01 or something like that. But 3 championships within 5 years, same as Patrick Mahomes. And I was kind of young during that, but everybody always talked about when it came to Brady, when you needed it. And I saw this late in his career, when I was in college, when I was in high school, with the Rams Super Bowl that they beat the Rams, the Super Bowl that they at the Buccaneers, obviously, but that wasn't with the Patriots. The Super Bowl that they beat the Seahawks, I watched that one. Obviously, the one that they beat Atlanta. It just like always seems like anytime, like if you give him an opportunity, if you don't put him away, he's gonna find a way to win the game. And it was just like that with Atlanta and Tom Brady. It's like he hung around. The Atlanta took a big lead in the first half, but then it's like you never put them away. You have to, and I said this, man, I can't remember who I was talking about. I was talking about Montana though, and I was talking about, NDSU. It was when they beat NDSU. It's like and obviously NDSU wasn't the national champion last year, and they weren't this year, but it's like they have championship pedigree. And, the Chiefs, opposite of, what I'm talking about with NDSU, the Chiefs are the champions. You have to beat the champ. You can't hope to beat the champ. It's just like I talk about with fighting. It's like when you're fighting a champion in the UFC or in boxing, you can't let it go to the decision, because the judges are always going to lean towards the champion, no matter what the fight looked like. So it's like in this game, you have to put them away. And there were some opportunities where the Niners had a chance to put them away, and they weren't able to. They had the muff punt. That one really hurt. I think it was 10-6 at that time, and they were about to get ball back, and they had been moving the ball. The only reason they hadn't really been moving the ball was because they had been hurting themselves. They're about to get the ball back. It hits off a player's foot. Just a shit situation. He's probably calling Peter, and it happens to hit his guy's leg. You can't really do anything about that. Then the guy, noticing that it hit his guy's foot, tries to pick it up. He muffs it around. And then obviously the Chiefs players go in there. It's just tough. it's just tough. And then I feel like we never see Christian McCaffrey fumble, and he fumbled first drive of the game, and I was like, oh no, here we go. But it turned out to be a great game. I was very impressed with what we saw. I was very happy with the product that was put on the field. It was amazing to watch greatness work. Brock Purdy, I think he had an amazing season. The Niners had an amazing season, but it's just like that thing people used to say with Jordan. Barkley doesn't have a ring because of Jordan. Karl Malone and John Stockton don't have rings because of Jordan. There's so many other players in the NBA that played in Jordan's era that don't have rings. And right now we're looking at Josh Allen without a ring, who's a great player, been to the playoffs many times, can't get over the hump. We're looking at Lamar Jackson, great player, been to the playoffs multiple times, can't get over the hump. Joe Burrow got to the Super Bowl, beat Patrick Mahomes, but still has yet to get over that hump. So there's just a litany of players in this Patrick Mahomes era right now that are right there, competing with Patrick Mahomes. But I think yesterday, Patrick Mahomes made it very clear that nobody's on his level. He is on a level of his own, and it's amazing to see. You guys let me know in the comments what you guys thought about that Super Bowl. I used to be, I'll say this about the halftime. You guys let me know what you thought about the Super Bowl, the game itself. I want to talk about the halftime show real quick. I grew up listening to Usher, and I've never been the biggest R&B guy, but I used to love a lot of Usher when I was growing up. I wasn't particularly impressed with the halftime show. I've heard very good obviously I watched it, but I've heard a lot of people really enjoyed it, and I know a lot of my friends enjoyed it. I'm not saying it was a bad performance. I thought the choreography was great. I thought there were some iffy moments in there, especially with Alicia Keys coming in with that key. I was scared for her. I remember I texted my friends when Alicia Keys, she sung that first note on the piano and her voice kind of cracked a little bit. I was like, no, not Alicia. But it ended up turning out well, and it was a great performance. I'm just not the hugest Usher fan, and I've heard his concerts and his everything that he does with his residency in Vegas has been amazing. I thought it was a good show, but I can definitely name some that I thought were better. Like, was it last year or 2 years ago that they had 50 Cent and everybody? Was that last year? Dr. Dre, 50 Cent, Eminem, all them. I thought that show was amazing. Mary J. Blige. That show was amazing for me. I can't rank my Super Bowl halftime shows because I'm not the biggest. I've never been to a concert, and I'm not big on concerts like that. So, I don't really care about choreography and stuff like that. But you guys let me know in the comments what you thought about that. That's just my thoughts on the Super Bowl and how I thought it was an amazing game. And then the halftime show, obviously, everybody's going to talk about that, so I wanted to touch on that. You guys let me know what you think. Next topic. Oh, one more thing on the Super Bowl that I wanted to speak on, and we're going to pull this up. I'm going to pull this graphic up, and then we can talk about it. So give me a second. Okay, so we've only seen one overtime Super Bowl before, and that was obviously the Patriots and the Falcons, and the Patriots won that. They got the ball. They scored. The Atlanta Falcons never got a chance to get the ball. Well, we saw what happened in the Chiefs, Bills, I think it might have been AFC or a divisional championship game, and the Bills never got the ball. It was an amazing game. I mean, if you watched that game, if you didn't watch that game, I feel sorry for you. If you watched that game, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Back and forth, two of the best quarterbacks in the NFL going back and forth, and it just felt like whoever had the ball last was going to win because nobody could stop anybody. These guys were firing on all cylinders. In the sports psychology world, they call it flow, and both these guys were in that flow state, and it was amazing to watch. Well, I just think this graphic is so interesting. Posted up by Bleacher Report. I saw it. When did I see? I saw it actually right before I was about to record this and decided to add it in here. I just think it speaks to coaching. This to me speaks to coaching. You got Kyle Juszczyk and Eric Armstead touched on this as well in his post-game interview, but they didn't even know that the rules had changed for overtime. I bring up that Chiefs-Bills game because that is what sparked the rule change for what we now know as the overtime, the playoff overtime rules. The rules are still regular in the regular season. So the way the overtime rules work in the regular season, if you go to overtime, whoever wins the toss, if they score a touchdown, they win the game. Now, if that team were to get a field goal, the other team gets another possession. But what happened in the Bills is the Chiefs got the ball, they scored, and the Bills never got we never got to see them and what they would do. So, that a lot of fans were upset about that. A lot of Bills fans, a lot of Bills players were upset about that. And the NFL heard them, and the competition committee changed the rule. So now the rule is In the playoffs only, the regular season is still the same, but in the playoffs, if you win the toss, it doesn't matter who wins the toss. Each team is guaranteed one possession of the football. So the Niners players are saying they believed that if we were to score a touchdown, we would win, which was factually incorrect. And I think that falls on Kyle Shanahan and their coaching staff by not covering that, by not letting their team be aware of that. But then you have on the other side of things, you have Drew Tranquil. He says, we had an OT rules presentation and strategy meeting every week of the playoffs and twice in our Super Bowl prep. Hashtag Big Red. And I think that just speaks to the coaching staff of Andy Reid and that team. It's like, obviously they were the ones who sparked the change in the rule, but I mean, to understand that, and Dan Orlovsky touched on it this morning on ESPN. He was talking about how, to know that you're a good team and you guys expect to go to the NFC Championship, to the Super Bowl, and you expect to play deep in the playoffs, this is something you should be covering as a 49ers coach, head coach, and coaching staff. This is something you guys should be covering. I think that was a massive mistake by the 49ers. I mean, it might have cost them a Super Bowl. You can say that this might have cost them a Super Bowl by not being prepared for things like this, because I believe if they could take this back, and Kyle Shanahan stated in his post-game presser, he said that I wanted to have the opportunity to have the ball third. So in his mind, he said they looked at analytics, they looked at all the numbers, and they talked to their coaching staff, and they felt that it would be best to take the ball if they win the toss and have the opportunity to have the ball third. So meaning if both teams were to get a field goal or both teams were to score a touchdown and the game was tied after the first two possessions, then it goes into sudden death and next score wins. Field goal, safety, whatever it is, touchdown, any score wins the game. And that's what Kyle Shanahan was working off of. But in hindsight, you think to yourself, well, one, we're playing against Patrick Mahomes. So you never want, you want to see what he does first, always. You want to see what that guy's going to do first so that that's not even one. That's the whole point. You want to see what the other guy is going to do first so you know what you have to work with. Because, when you go first and you only get 3, then you can't dictate, what comes next. You can't dictate. Your defense is on the field next. So it's like, you don't know what's going to happen and you have no control. On the other hand of things, contrastly, if you let them go first, then you are dictating. Say you even stop them, then you only need 3. You don't know what's going to happen. And obviously, I don't think that they were expecting to stop Patrick Mahomes. He was that fourth quarter, he was playing amazing football. He was doing whatever he needed to do to get the job done. And I think when we talk about saying somebody put the team on their back, I feel like guys get that all the time. And I feel like people talk about, oh, he's putting the team on his back. But when you talk about this Super Bowl and you talk about what Patrick Mahomes just did during this game, he seriously put the team on his back. Like some of those runs on 3rd and 4th down, some of those throws he was making. He was doing everything for this team to make sure that they came out with the victory, and they did. And now he's a 3-time Super Bowl champion. He's won 3 out of 4 Super Bowls. It's crazy to think that the only Super Bowl he's lost is against the guy he's chasing after, which is funny because you look back at Brady, and I this is how I see it. When you watch a lot of mic'd ups of Patrick Mahomes, he's always mentioning Brady. He's always mentioning things Brady would do in his pregame, during the game, in his postgame, in his training regimen. You can tell that Patrick Mahomes looks up to Brady a lot. And, Brady grew up in San Francisco. So I got to believe that Brady's idols were Steve Young and Joe Montana. And it's so crazy that, Brady needed 5 to get over Joe Montana. And Brady was probably looking at Steve Young and Joe Montana. And now Patrick Mahomes is looking at Tom Brady, and he's going to need 8. But a lot of the pundits say he doesn't really need 8 to pass Tom Brady just because of his talent and what we've seen in such an early amount of time. But it's just so funny how, one guy's looking at the other. Now guys are looking. Now, Brady was looking at Steve Young, Joe Montana, and then he became the guy. And now Patrick Mahomes is looking at Tom Brady, and he's, looking like he's going to become the guy. But we'll see what goes on in the coming years. I think they have I think they're set up for success based on how young their team is and just what everything looks like for them. Speaking of the Chiefs, I don't know what the 49ers are going to look like next year. I don't know how much turnover they're going to have. I don't know what their contract situations are looking like. But, great game yesterday. Great way to end the season off with an overtime thriller that, kept everybody on the edge of their seats till the end of the game. I think that's how, if there is a script out there, I think that's how the NFL would want it to go. That gets fans engaged, that just keeps people talking, and it's just great for the brand of football. And, it's amazing. I thought it was a great game, and this graphic spoke volumes to the coaching deficiencies that kind of showed up towards the end of the game where, one may be able to say that one coach got outcoached, and I would say Kyle Shanahan got outcoached towards the end of that game. Two great teams. Great product, amazing. I'm very happy with the Super Bowl. I'm very happy with what we saw. But yeah, you guys let me know in the comments what you guys think about all that. Okay, the next thing I wanted to talk about is college football and, the advent of potential unions being introduced into college. Not even college. Did I say college football? I meant college athletics in general. Okay, I have a quote from Barn Burner Sports. They said, potentially massive news in college sports. The National Labor Relations Board, the NLRB, has ruled that Dartmouth basketball players are considered employees of the school. They would now be able to proceed with voting to form a union. A precedent is about to be set. That's by Barn Burner Sports. Thanks to my guys Noah and AJ out there. But man, this is crazy. And I remember I mentioned this a couple weeks ago. I was like, I was talking about NIL with somebody, and I was like, well, like if they start playing them like employees, then that's going to mean like these guys are going to need a union. They're going to need somebody arguing and bargaining on their behalf. So now I think there's a lot that has to happen within this, but it's like now that they have accepted that these guys can form a union, what happens next? Do they form a union? There wouldn't have been a court case or a lawsuit being had if they hadn't gone to them requesting that they be able to form a union. I think they're just looking for more protections, maybe in athletics or in training or some form or fashion. But I think this could shake up college football because, that's the thing about professional football is like, in amateur sports, you're being paid. You're not even being paid. You're being given a scholarship based on your academic and student athletic standing. I don't even know, you're being given a scholarship that covers your room and board, that covers your tuition, obviously your books. If you're on full ride scholarship, tuition, books, room and board, and then meal plan or whatever that is. I think that falls in under room and board, but that is what your scholarship check is. And the stipend ends up being, the check that athletes end up getting. I know a lot of FBS schools and a lot of schools get cost of attendance. I don't believe Montana does cost of attendance, but the stipend check is supposed to be your room and board, especially when you move off campus. Cause that's why at Montana as freshmen, we don't get scholarship checks because our room and board, we're living in the dorms and we got food zoo, but food zoo is optional and the dorms are optional once you get out of your freshman year. So now, these players are not only, I don't know how this would affect scholarships too, because it's like now if you're being deemed as an employee of the school, it's like, who's responsible for paying for those scholarships? Is the school still responsible for paying for those scholarships? Or since they're employees, is it their own responsibility to pay for, or is, I don't know. I have a lot of questions. I know, how unions work and, obviously they're going to be bargaining and arguing for the players and in the players' best interest. But, the schools themselves have an agenda as well. And they have things that, they have a bottom line and, if it becomes a pay issue, there's going to have to be a pay scale because obviously everybody's not worth the same amount of money. There's stars on a team and then there's role players and then there's obviously guys who don't play. So it's like, how does that work? That's going to create some division as well. I think this is an interesting topic. I think it's crazy that this is how far college athletics has gone because, they talked. I actually have an article. I have an article that I'm going to pull up and I'll read to you guys. It's Forbes talking about this ruling and they were talking about how, I got it right here. So they said that the concept of amateurism, the longstanding philosophy that college athletes perform in the name of their school and should not receive pay, has become a hot button issue in recent years. They talked about an NCAA ruling for Northwestern. Here it is. In 2014, members of Northwestern University football team filed a petition to unionize. Though the NLRB rejected the request, a decision lauded by NCAA officials, including Chief Legal Officer Donald Remy, who called the ruling the right call, in quotes. In its decision, the NLRB argued asserting jurisdiction in the case would not serve to promote, in quotes, would not serve to promote stability in labor relations, end quote. Though the board did not take a stance on whether students were in fact university employees, leaving open the possibility of future unionization efforts. So I think that's where we are now in those future unionization efforts. In 2014, Northwest Football tried. The NLRB said no. I guess there's some criteria that they didn't fit, or it just wasn't the right time. But I think in today's age now, where we're seeing all these players get this money and they don't really have a lot of protections, there's not really a lot of stipulations out there. The NCAA has some rules and regulations, but they're kind of broad reaching. So there's a lot of nuance to what's going on with NIL. I think the NLRB is trying to step in and give the NCAA some assistance and let them know that, like, hey, something needs to be done. These people are coming to us now asking us for, obviously the players from Dartmouth are coming to them, the NLRB, trying to be able to unionize. I think that changes a lot of things, and I think it's interesting. But I think it potentially, just like they said in the Barn Burner Sports quote, that this could potentially change college sports forever. And, this might be the beginning of the end for the NCAA. We don't know, I don't know where we go from here, but I thought that was very interesting. And, I think it could shake up a lot of things in college football. You guys let me know what you think in the comments. I have a few more topics I want to cover. But first, I wanted to tell you guys the best worst thing I saw last week. Kind of put it in the middle here. I thought it was hilarious. Okay, so I'm actually going to, give me a second. I got to share this with myself, and then I'm going to pull this video up, and I have a story about this video, and it just brings back memories, but I thought this was so funny. This is definitely the best thing I saw this week. This is the best worst thing I saw last week. And here, we'll let it play through again. Look at these kids on this treadmill. And this is like, I'll watch it 2 more times for you guys, but look at what these kids are doing. This just... Look at the kid in the blue. Okay. So the reason I bring that up is because when I was a kid, me and my cousin, Thomas, my brother Jossie, and I believe my cousin Corey was there as well. We were at this hotel. I think we might have been in OKC, or we might have been in Texas. We were somewhere, not too far from where I'm from, but we were at a family reunion, and we were in the little pool room / workout room. And one of my cousins had turned up the treadmill like as fast as it could go. And I don't know why I did this, but just like that kid in the blue, but mine was way worse. I stepped up on the treadmill. Like I think I put a foot on the treadmill or something. I got on it. They must have like bet me or something, like get on the treadmill or something. I can't remember exactly why I got on it. I was a very curious kid as a youngster. Like, I would do dumb stuff with no explanation at all. Anyway, I jump on the treadmill, and obviously it's going however fast it goes, super fast, and I just like slip off, and just like my arm like rolls over, and like I remember I had like scratches on my arms, and then like I think my legs went first, but my legs were all like, I had those rug burns on my legs too. It was so dumb. It was just so crazy. And watching that, obviously those kids were wearing hoodie and a jeans, very smart by them. But me, I think I was maybe I might have been in a swimsuit. That might be why I got like so messed up during that. But I remember it was so bad, like just scraping across the treadmill, and they were laughing, and obviously as cousins do, they were clowning me, and I was probably crying because I was a crybaby as a kid, but that's the best thing I saw last week. I thought that was hilarious. It brought back great memories for me. I hope both of those kids are okay, because I know when I did it, I was definitely not okay. But that's the best worst thing I saw last week. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Maybe you guys saw that, maybe you didn't, but I thought that was hilarious. Anyway, so the next thing I wanted to talk about was ESPN Fox, and this is from Ari Mayrove on Twitter. X, if you guys, I still call it Twitter, but a lot of people call it X, Twitter X, whatever you want to call it. ESPN, Fox, and Warner Bros. Are planning to launch a joint sports streaming service later this year. The move will place content from ESPN, TNT, and Fox Sports on a new standalone app. That's crazy that like ESPN and Fox are going to be doing this together. Anyway, on a new standalone app, and will have significant ramifications for the future of TV sports. The platform does not yet have a name or a price. I think this is crazy, and I always go back to where, we used to have cable when I was growing up, and I'm sure all you guys, a lot of you guys who watch this grew up on, everybody probably grew up on cable first, but it's just so crazy how, cable used to be, cable is and used to be, all these services put into one. You pay a price, a blanket fee for the month, and then you get access to ESPN, Fox, CBS, TBS, TNT, all these services. And now it's like you got all these services merging. Everybody wants to get into streaming. You got Peacock, you got Paramount, you got Amazon, you got ESPN Plus, you got, what am I forgetting? There's more. I know there's more, but there's all these streaming services. Apple TV, like you name it, there's a streaming service for it. If somebody has a brand in television, they're best believe they're going to merge it into streaming. And that's where the world is going. I'm not mad about that. I just think it's so funny how they moved away from cable. They're slowly moving away from cable because of streaming. But then eventually, the way it seems like it's going is everything's going to be back like cable, but streaming, but all on one streaming service. I think it's funny, and I think it's interesting that like the way it seems kind of cyclical in a way, I think it's interesting. You guys let me know what you guys think about that. I think it'll be interesting to see what the price of that will be, because obviously ESPN, Fox, and I think, did I say TNT as well? ESPN, Fox, and Warner Bros. So yeah, TNT is in there too. Man, that's like TNT, that's basketball. Everybody wants to watch, NBA Today or whatever the show that has Kenny, Shaq, Ernie, and Charles on there. Everybody wants to watch that. That's TNT. ESPN, obviously, we got First Take, Get Up, all these shows on ESPN. A lot of the college football games are on ESPN. They do College Game Day on ESPN. And then, what do we got? Fox. You got the college show on Fox. Get Up, not Get Up, but the Fox College Show. You know what I'm talking about. All the stuff that goes on Fox, ESPN, and TNT. I think it's going to be crazy, especially depending on the price. Now, I don't know what this will do to I don't know what the ramifications this will have, honestly, because, I'm not tapped into television and streaming like that very closely. Obviously, we know this will have ramifications. I would love to know what those ramifications would be. But I think this is crazy, man. Like, we're going right back to cable, except it's streaming. So, that's interesting, and that's something that I found very interesting about what's been going on, and something I saw last week that I thought you guys might find interesting as well. If you guys think this is an abomination, let me know in the comments. If you guys think this is amazing, let me know in the comments. I honestly don't really know what to think about it. I think once there's more information about it out, I will have more thoughts about it, but I think it's an interesting dynamic, especially since ESPN and Fox are direct competitors. Like, those guys are competing for everything, and now they're going to do a joint venture or a joint streaming service, whatever you want to call it. They're going to go into something together. Interesting, but we will see. We will see how that turns out. Okay, this is for my FCS people who are paying attention to this channel. We're going to talk about some FCS versus FBS. First off, we're going to talk about the matchups, but we're going to talk about the payouts as well. And I put a lot of the bigger, which I only put Big Sky and Missouri Valley schools on here, actually, now that I'm looking at it. But I tried to look up some of the bigger games, and honestly, some of the games that I thought that FCS guys could win. I'm not very versed on a lot of the smaller FCS schools. I saw a lot of smaller FCS schools on there. I don't know a lot about them or their talent or, what they have returning. So I didn't want to, get on here and sound a little uneducated. But first game we got North Dakota State at Colorado. I think this is going to be an amazing game. I think I talked about it a week or two ago that I think NDSU is returning a lot of players. Cam Miller coming back. They have that backup quarterback. I think they lost quite a bit. I think they lost a little bit maybe on the offensive line, but I think they have a lot of returning players coming back, and I think NDSU is going to be a tough out next year. Obviously, we know what Colorado brings to the table. Shedeur Sanders. They got a lot of weapons. Travis Hunter on defense and offense. They seem to have buffed up their offensive line. I think they're working on their defensive line as well. So we believe that Colorado will be an improved product next year. But we all know what North Dakota State is, and we all know what North Dakota State is against FBS competition. They're never an easy out, and I think that could be an exciting game. The payout for that game to North Dakota State is $700,000. So I don't think Colorado will have. Obviously they're not gonna have trouble paying it, but man, it'll be interesting. Will they be paying that $700 for a tune-up, or will they be paying that $700 for a beatdown? We will see. I think that's gonna be a good game to watch. Obviously, North Dakota State could get boat raced, but we don't know. And think about this, though. Think about this. So, Dion has done a lot of talking, and I'm a big Dion fan. I want him to win. I want them to do well. I want Shador to do well. I want Travis Hunter to do well. I want Colorado to win, and I want Deion Sanders to win. I think they have an amazing thing over there. I think he's an amazing coach, everything. But Dion has done a lot of talking, and he's done a lot of, talking about just wait, just wait, just wait. I'm all with that. I will wait. I wanted them to be good. Last year, there was a lot of games, I'm watching those games, and it just seems like they got the weapons, but it's like they can't protect. They can't stop the run. So it's like they're missing a little bit. We all can see that they're missing a little bit. This year, they seem to have retooled. They seem to have buffed up their team on all facets. And imagine if they lose that North Dakota State game. First off, imagine how loud the outside noise will be if they lose that North Dakota State game. But, I mean, that is not going to be a good look, man. And personally, if I'm giving my opinion, I don't think Colorado's going to lose that game. I respect the hell out of North Dakota State. You guys all know that. I respect North Dakota State, and I think they're a great program and great team. But they lost their offensive coordinator. They lost their head coach. And, it just seems like there's a lot going on over there right now. We don't know what they're going to look like. Obviously, it's North Dakota State, blue blood. So they should be good. But we don't know. We don't know. But just imagine if Colorado loses that game. Can you imagine if Colorado loses that game? Remember when they lost? They lost to Stanford, and the noise was super loud. And I think that might have been like their first or second loss. And obviously, then they ended up being like 4-8. So it was like that Stanford loss probably pales in comparison to what the whole season was in general. But it's like, just imagine if Colorado loses to North Dakota State. Could you imagine that? Could you imagine that? We will see. I think it's going to be amazing. And yeah, I'm excited to see what's going on. Obviously, we're so long away from that. That game is going to be played in probably early August, week 0 or week 1. But it's going to be exciting to watch. Next, we got Northern Iowa at Nebraska with a payout of $600,000. I know Northern Iowa is always, one of the better, at least middle tier to better teams in the Missouri Valley. And we know Nebraska has always been kind of, wishy-washy. We don't ever know what they're going to get from them. They seem to always have talent. I think they were missing quarterback talent last year, but they seem to always have talent at a lot of their positions, and they just can never get over the hump. So Northern Iowa, Nebraska going to be an interesting one. I think Northern Iowa could sneak one out because Nebraska always Nebraska's things. Samori went to Nebraska, and they were like the best 3-9 team ever. I swear. That was the most Northern Nebraska football I've ever watched, obviously, because my dog goes there. But these dudes were in every game. Michigan, they're in it. Minnesota, who was pretty decent that 21 season, they were in it. Ohio State, they were in it. But it just seemed like every time the game came down to it, when they needed to play, they were going to turn over the ball. They were going to fumble. They were going to do something to lose the game. Miss a field goal, throw an interception. Like something was going to happen to them at the end of the game to where they were going to lose it. And, so I know what Northern Iowa is facing. Hopefully Nebraska is better. I think they got Matt Rule now, so hopefully he's got things straightened out. But I think that's a winnable game for Northern Iowa. Next, we have South Dakota State at Oklahoma State. Now, this probably is number 2 on my list of most interesting FCS to FBS games that I saw, because obviously South Dakota State, if Mark Gronowski comes back, obviously they're losing Isaiah Davis. I think that backup running back they had is really good. They're losing the Yankee brothers, but they have some young talent. They're losing their tight end. So I don't know about South Dakota State. I mean, the pedigree, the winning pedigree is there. Obviously, they're back-to-back national champions, but they're losing a lot. So, they're losing a lot on the offensive line as well. So I don't know. When I first put this on here, I thought it was a very interesting game, but now that I'm thinking about all that South Dakota State is losing, I don't know about that, man. I don't know. But I'm still stick with what my original thought was. I think South Dakota State could win that game. Oklahoma State, I think they're going to be maybe a younger team. I don't know who they had at quarterback last year. I can't even remember. I think it was a younger guy. But, Oklahoma State probably, I don't know how Oklahoma State is going to be either, because I know they lost quite a few, but some of their receivers are coming back. I know they have their main receiver coming back, a Tulsa guy, Brendan Presley is coming back, so that's going to be amazing for them. But outside of, I don't know what their defense is like. I don't know what their offensive is like. But, man, that's going to be an interesting game. I think South Dakota State could definitely win that game. You guys let me know what you think about some of these few that I've riddled off so far. Idaho at Oregon. I don't know why I put that on here. I don't think Idaho can win that game, but the payout is $675,000. The South Dakota State Oklahoma State payout is $450,000, by the way. But Idaho Oregon $675,000, and then Idaho, which is interesting too. Idaho has 2 FBS games, and I think they did have 2 FBS games last year. I know that's probably a money thing. They're trying to make up for some deficits that they have on maybe other sports teams or something in their athletic department. They're obviously trying to cover for a deficit. They're obviously trying to get some revenue in some way, but I mean, making $1 million in FBS games, I don't think that's half bad. But 675 for the Idaho Oregon game, and then Idaho at Wyoming. I think Idaho could win that Wyoming game. Obviously, I know nothing about Wyoming, but I think that could be an interesting game for Idaho. Man, it's tough too because Idaho lost a lot as well. Now that I'm rethinking this, I don't think Idaho can win that. I mean, I don't know. My Wyoming, I don't think they've been one of the better Missouri or Mountain West teams, in the last couple of years. So, Idaho could definitely win that game. They beat Nevada last year. They boat raced Nevada last year. Then they were pretty tight with Cal up until halftime. And then, Cal kind of was like, they snapped out of it and, I think they won by like 2 or 3 touchdowns in the second half. But, I think Coach Eck is a great coach, and he'll have those guys ready to play. It'll just be, can they execute on the field? Idaho at Oregon and Idaho at Wyoming, making about a little over $1 million in money from those schools. Next, we got Eastern Washington at Nevada. I thought that was interesting because obviously Coach Choate, who used to be at Montana State, is at Nevada now. So, Nevada versus Eastern Washington, which Eastern Washington, and during Choate's time, and I guess kind of during Brent Vinke's time too, when Idaho when Eastern Washington had Eric Berrier, Montana State and Eastern Washington kind of had like a little rivalry, like just a little bit of a rivalry. Obviously, it's a conference, it's same in conference, so all these teams, you got a little bit of a personal relationship with a lot of these teams, a lot of these coaches, so it's going to be personal no matter who you're playing in conference. But I think that could be interesting just because Choate is at Nevada and he's playing another Big Sky school. Obviously, he knows the Big Sky very well, and it's going to be an interesting game. That payout is $400,000. Montana State at New Mexico, $360,000 is the payout for Montana State. I 100% think Montana State could win this game. I mean, I don't know which New Mexico team was good last year. I think it was either New Mexico or New Mexico State. I mean, those were the only two, but I believe one of them was good, but I know over the course of like the last 10 years, both of those schools have been relatively bad. So, I think Montana State could definitely control the game on the ground. Tommy Mellott, what he's able to do in the pass game and the run game. I think that could be a very successful game for Montana State, and I think they could come out with a dub if they play the right way. They got to be able to be dominant in the run game like they do, unless they're changing philosophies. I'm pretty sure they just lost their offensive coordinator, so they might be going in a different direction. But obviously, I don't know if Brent Vegan ultimately holds the keys to that decision. He might decide that we're staying with the same run game and get an offensive coordinator that is aligned with that. I don't know. But I think Montana State could definitely win that game. And then last one I have on here is Sacramento State at Fresno State. I swear I didn't only try to put Big Sky teams and Missouri Valley teams on here. I tried to put the teams that I thought could genuinely. Now, Idaho, Oregon, I don't know. I didn't think Idaho could genuinely win that one, but I wanted to put them on here. But Sacramento State at Fresno State for $350,000. I think Sac State can win that. I didn't know if Caden Bennett was a junior or a senior last year for Sacramento State, their quarterback. I know they have a good freshman quarterback behind him who played pretty well the week before it might have been the week before they played Montana. He played pretty well, but he didn't play so hot against Montana. But I think he's got a lot of promise. I think he's a good quarterback. I think they can win that game. Fresno State I think they are up and down throughout the years. They're good some years, they're bad some years, they're competitive in the Mountain West, and sometimes they're not very competitive. But, they're an FBS opponent in the Mountain West Conference that, is a fairly strong conference. But Sacramento State, just down the street from it. Well, not down the street. I think Fresno is a little further from Sac than I think. I mean, I don't know California like that, but I think it's a couple hours away from Sac State. Maybe you guys know. You guys can let me know. But I think that's a winnable game for Sac State. If they play the right way, if they execute, I think they can win that game. Who knows? Maybe Fresno State's rebuilding this year, and they might have a lot of young guys. Maybe Sac State boat races them like Idaho did Nevada. Who knows? But those are some of the interesting FBS to FBS games I think I saw and some of their payouts. So you guys let me know in the comments what you guys think about that. So a little Montana coaching news. This is from Skyline Sports. Per his Twitter profile, former Montana offensive coordinator Tim Rosenbach has joined Paul Wolf's staff at Cal Poly. Rosenbaugh will coach wide receivers and serve as passing game coordinator. Rosenbaugh was offensive analyst. We never call him Rosenbaugh. That's why I'm like struggling saying Rosenbaugh. Rosenbaugh was offensive analyst last season for Grizz football and OC from 2018 to 2022. Skyline Sports. Man, I think that's interesting. Where'd he go, Cal Poly? Man, but he's not even OC yet. He's wide receivers coach and passing game coordinator. So he's kind of OC, coordinating the passing game side of things. But man, this is going to be interesting, Obviously he's in conference, so he's going to want to be able to see and compete against Montana and see, how he measures up at another spot. I don't know how many coaching spots he's coached at. Sorry. I don't know how many coaching spots he's coached at outside of Montana. I know he's at Montana years ago, left, I think went some places, and I believe he came back. But maybe I'm not thinking about him. Maybe I'm thinking of the analyst who we have right now who was at Idaho State. I'm blanking on his name right now. Gosh, I can't think of his name. Anyway, I think this is interesting. Coach Rosie, wide receivers coach at Cal Poly. I don't know what their wide receivers are like at Cal Poly, but they've been towards the lower end of the Big Sky Conference for a long time. So hopefully he's able to turn some things around. I think they've been kind of, they ran the triple option for such a long time, or the wing, or whatever you want to call it, the triple option. They ran that for a long time, and they got out of that a couple years ago and have been, trying to build back up, trying to, because when you run that triple option, you're recruiting a certain way. You're recruiting a lot of fullbacks, a lot of running backs. You're not recruiting a lot of receivers. You're recruiting a certain type of quarterback who can run that type of system. I mean, it's a whole different form of recruiting and form of running your program when you run that triple option. So I knew it was going to take them a couple years to be able to retool up, get the requisite receivers, get the requisite quarterbacks in their backfield, the right running backs, the right just tight ends, everything. You got to redo your roster offensively in order to transition from that triple option system. And that takes a couple years. It takes recruiting. It takes bringing in the right guys. It takes the right type of coach that knows what he's doing. It takes the right type of scheme. But we should be getting around that time to where they should be getting the right type of recruits in there. Obviously, with the transfer portal, that probably accelerated that process. So they might be ready. They might have been ready a year ago or 2 years ago. But I think it'll be interesting to see what they were able to do. Congrats to Coach Rosie, on getting that job. You deserve it. I hope you have much success, but it's going to be exciting to see what Cal Poly is able to do. Okay, I don't know if you guys can read all of this, but this was posted by, I believe, Reddit FCS. The Reddit FCS page posted this, and they said these are the FBS equivalent of all these FCS schools. So they said the Big Sky is the SEC if you removed Alabama and shoved it out west. The OVC is the Mountain West if you moved it east. The CAA is the ACC, but Florida State and Clemson are leaving. Who is that? JMU and Delaware? Would that be Delaware? The Ivy League is the Big Ten if just good and bad versions of Northwestern. The Missouri Valley is the Big Ten if Alabama was also in the conference. The NEC is Conference USA shifted north. I agree with that. The Patriot League is the Sun Belt Conference shifted north. I think that's Pioneer League is Conference USA without scholarships. That might be Patriot. This is Patriot. It's an American flag. What am I talking about? And then that might be Pioneer, I think. I don't know. I don't know what this P is. Anyway, SoCon, American Conference, if they retain the old Big East legacy. The Southland Conference is the MAC if placed on Gulf and also used to have Colorado. And then the United Athletic Conference is the Big 12 if you averaged out the highs and lows. Okay, so here's where I stand on this. And this is what I've always said. Even, since my early days in Montana, I've always said this. To me, the SEC is the Missouri Valley. North Dakota State is obviously Alabama. Like, that's the SEC. You got South Dakota State, potentially a Georgia, back-to-back champions. You got the South Dakotas, you got the North Dakotas, the guys who are competitive. You got the Northern Iowas, the guys who are competitive. To me, the Big Sky is the Big Ten. And obviously Michigan won a championship this year, but you got the Michigans, the Ohio States. I would equal that to Montana State, that are always competitive, but can never, get over that hump. The Eastern Washingtons, the Weber States, who are always competitive. Like, a lot of good teams in the Big Ten, a lot of good teams in the Big Sky. I would put the Big Sky here. I would put the Big Sky, I would put the Big Sky here, the Big Ten. The Big Sky is the Big Ten. Missouri Valley is the SEC. Everything else, I don't really have a problem with. I would probably put, if we're talking CAA, I would give the CAA the Big 12 title. If it's me, I would give the CAA the Big 12 title. And then the ACC for me would probably have to go to the SoCon. I would give the SoCon the ACC, and then everything else can shake out where it is. So for me, the Big Sky is the Big 10. OVC, I like that. CAA, I'm giving you the Big 12. Ivy League, I don't know what this is. Ivy League is their own thing. We're going to keep Ivy League the Ivy League. The Missouri Valley is getting the SEC. The NEC, I agree with that. I agree with that. The SoCon is getting the ACC. So then who would that leave for the SoCon? The SoCon is getting the ACC. SLC is MAC. The United Athletic Conference is Big 12. I don't really know whatever shakes out. American can go to, who did I take away? I don't know. I'm confused right now. But you guys heard what I said. Big Sky, Big 10. CAA, Big 12. Missouri Valley, SEC. And then the SoCon is the ACC. Those are my rankings. You guys let me know what you guys think about this graphic. Like I said, it's from Reddit FCS. If you guys want to find it, you guys can go look it up on their page. But those are my personal rankings and where I think these teams fall based on FBS comparisons. I might be wrong. I might be right. You guys let me know. We can have a healthy discussion about it. I actually don't have a graphic to pull up, but this article by FCS Football Central, which is at the Blue Bloods, is talking about, they said, in quotes, "We take a look at some of the greatest performances by former FCS players in Super Bowl history, including multiple Super Bowl MVP performances." And I thought this was interesting because I pulled up that graphic about the points last week, and I saw somebody in the comments, Adam Vinatieri, South Dakota State. That's awesome. I did not know he went to South Dakota State. That's amazing. Just some of the FCS players that have, shined. You got Nate Newton at Florida A&M, helped the Dallas Cowboys. You got Anais Williams from Southern, played a massive role in the Los Angeles Rams. Michael Strahan, obviously Texas Southern. Adam Vinatieri from South Dakota State, which is awesome. Doug Williams from Grambling State. I did not know Doug Williams with the Grambling State. I've been using him on Madden Ultimate Team a lot. He's been kind of shaky lately. We could depend on him in the past, but now he's been a little shaky. But anyway, Doug Williams, I didn't know he went to Grambling State. That's awesome. Robert Alford, Southeastern Louisiana. I remember we played them in 2019. I was hurt, but we played Sela in 2019, and we boat raced them. But it's cool that Robert Alford, because I remember him getting that interception in the Super Bowl against Tom Brady. That's awesome. That's crazy. Steve McNair, Alcorn State. I guess I didn't put two and two together when I was doing that graphic last week, but that's cool. Terrell Owens, Chattanooga, obviously played for the Eagles in the Super Bowl. They lost, but he had an amazing performance on a broken leg, just a broken ankle. Crazy. Richard Dent, Tennessee State. I don't know who that is. Some of you old heads, don't kill me for that. Rodney Harrison from Western Illinois. Dang, I didn't know Rodney Harrison went to Western Illinois. Joe Flacco, Delaware. I always forget that Joe Flacco went to Delaware, but obviously he won a Super Bowl. Phil Simms, Morehead State, quarterback for the Giants. We got Cooper Kupp, Eastern Washington. I mentioned him last week, one of the only ones I know. I guess I'm this young guy that doesn't know all the OGs of FCS to FBS football. Jerry Rice, I mentioned him, Mississippi Valley State. One side note, we played them in 2017. Boat raced them. Obviously, Jerry Rice wasn't on the team, but boat raced them. Kurt Warner, Northern Iowa. I didn't mention him, but I knew he went to Northern Iowa, but I didn't mention him. And that's kind of it. But there's been a lot of stars who have played in the Super Bowl and balled out. Obviously, those were all the guys who have played and made a big impact in the Super Bowl, but I'm sure there's more FCS players who have played in Super Bowls and maybe not had as big of an impact, but, guys who have had the opportunity to go from the FCS to be able to play in the Super Bowl. It's amazing. That's an amazing feat in itself, Not everybody gets to play in the Super Bowl. There's many guys who never even get to see the Super Bowl, so for them to be able to do that is amazing. I think we are done with the topics for today. One more thing. Montana football. So Montana football hired Joe Powlick as new offensive line coach. I think this is going to be interesting. I know Germer has been at Montana for a really long time. And, I think sometimes it's good to get a different voice in there, just to hear a different coach's voice. Not to say Coach Dermer wasn't getting the job done. I think our offensive line has been fine, but do I think they could be better? Yes. And not to say that Coach Dermer couldn't be the coach to be able to get them better, but sometimes, hearing a different voice, being able to see a different regime, be able to see some things be coached a little differently that you haven't been coached in. Maybe he knows some different techniques. I don't know. It'll be interesting, and I'm excited to see how it turns out. But let me read the quote from Skyline Sports. Skyline Sports said, Joe Pollack, who spent last 5 seasons as O-line coach in North Dakota, has been hired to coach O-line for Grizz football. He replaces longtime O-line coach Chad Germer, who's moving on to other opportunities, which will be announced soon. Pollack helped Matt Walensko become an NFL draft pick per Skyline Sports. They did have that lineman that became an NFL draft pick maybe last year or the year before, but I remember he was like 6'7", 6'8", huge dude. But hopefully if he's able to bring whatever he was able to do in North Dakota here to Montana, I will be very excited, very happy. I think we started to see the return of more of a dominant run type team in Montana last year. I think they could have been more dominant, and I want to know how dominant they can be. So hopefully coach is able to get them there, and it's an amazing marriage that helps the linemen excel and helps everybody else around them excel. Another thing I wanted to touch on, Brandon Casey. So I was putting together, Denny Bedard asked me on one of my questions last week that I'm doing this week. He asked me to make a top 10 watch list of the top 10 for Montana football players, which I'm going to do, but players to watch for next season. But one thing I didn't know is I was doing some research on Brandon Casey, and I put him on maybe like my number, what did I put him at? I put him at maybe number 8. I didn't know Brandon Casey was first team all conference, and that is amazing. First team all conference, Brandon Casey, what? I didn't even know that, but that's awesome. Good for him, and hopefully he's able to repeat a season like that, because that play like that is one of the reasons why our team was so good last year, and hopefully he's able to, take that to the next level. But man, just a little shocker for me for that one. Just a little shocker for me for that one. We will get into fan questions now. We're almost an hour into this, and we're getting into fan questions. So I had a couple questions from last week that I wanted to answer, and here's one. This is from Jordan Taylor. What's your prediction for our Grizzlies in 24? Will Ayat flourish? Personally, I think Ayat and Junior have a monster year. Jordan Taylor. That was from Jordan Taylor. I believe he asked that on Facebook. But what is my prediction? What's your predictions for our Grizzlies in 24? Will Ayat flourish? I think Ayat can flourish. Will he flourish? I don't know. That depends on what they do in the offseason. That depends on how dedicated he is in the offseason. That depends on the work he puts in. I think he has the potential to flourish. What the heck was that? I think he has the potential to be a star. I think he has the potential to be great. I think he has all the tools and talents, but you have to put the work in. You have to be dedicated. You have to put your head down. You got to work. You got to work. You got to work. You got to work to be perfect. You got to work to be great. You got to work to be, you have to be the leader of the team. You're going to be if you want to be the starting quarterback, you're going to be the leader of the team. Everybody's going to be looking to you in times of adversity. Everybody's going to be looking to you for answers all the time. It has to be you. Where do I see for them in 24? What's your predictions for our Grizzlies in 24? Oh, man. I'm going to give them, I think they play 12 games next season. I could see the Grizz being 9-3 next season coming out of the regular season. I hope I'm wrong in a good way. But being fair about everything and looking at the schedule, I don't think they have the easiest schedule, but I don't think they have the toughest schedule either. They got Western Carolina as one of their non-conference games, so that's going to be a very interesting game. That's a game that they could lose because Western Carolina was fairly good last year. I don't know how they're going to be this year, but that's going to be a tough game. I think I could see them going 9-3, 8-4 next year, potentially competing for the Big Sky Conference, depending on how the conference looks. I don't think the conference looks too strong next year. Montana State lost a lot. Montana lost quite a bit. Sac State, I don't know how much they lost. I think they lost quite a bit. But then you got to think about the teams that weren't so good last year, that were just too young or weren't tooled enough to be able to compete, that are going to be good this year. So it's going to be be interesting. I give Montana 9-3, 8-4 type season. I hope I'm wrong in a good way. I'll say that again. I hope I'm wrong. I'm not doubting them. I'm just trying to be realistic. So anybody watching this that takes that personally, please don't take it personally. Don't kill the messenger. Those are just my genuine opinions. But yeah, I think they could have a monster year. I think Junior is going to have a monster year given if he's healthy. If everybody stays healthy, I think they could have an amazing year. I think that's something that played in Montana's favor last year. They had relatively good health. None of the, if you look at, I talked about this all the time. The Grizz haven't had a season where they've went all the way through with their starting quarterback ever. I mean, at least in my time being a supporter and fan of the Grizz since, I committed here in 2016. I didn't know all the past years, but I know ever since I've been a fan of the Grizz and been a part of the Grizz family that the quarterbacks have always gotten hurt. Every time I played, every year I played, our quarterback got hurt. Dalton got hurt. Cam got hurt. And I think my freshman year, Brady got hurt. So, guys have always been hurt around quarterbacks. No, Reese, my redshirt freshman year, Reese. And we don't have to go down that injury, but Reese got hurt my freshman year, the second game of the season against Savannah State. Nasty injury. Just sucks for him in his senior season. But we've always had our quarterbacks getting hurt. So, health is going to be a big thing. So if the Grizz can stay healthy, I think they'll have a good chance to be successful. But, we'll see. We'll see. Thank you for your question, Jordan Taylor. I appreciate you. Okay. Chris Powers on Facebook. He said, which team in comma or in quotes, what are those? Parentheses. Gosh, bro. Sometimes. Okay, Chris Powers. Which team, parentheses, be it all FCS or conference specific, in parentheses, could you see having the biggest change in the record from last year to next year, for good or for negative? Oh, I could see the biggest change happening for NAU. They were 5-6 overall. Portland State was 5-6 overall as well. But if we're just talking about in FCS conferences in the Big Sky, I could see the biggest change coming for Northern Arizona. They were 5-6 overall. No, because, I couldn't really see them being 6-5, 7-5, 8-5. That's not a big drastic change. Here's what I'm going to do. I could see the best record turnaround being for Eastern. They were 4-7 this year. I could see a 7-4, maybe 8-3 season coming out of them next year. I don't know. This is a good question, man. This is a very good question. There were some pretty good records in the conference. SAC 8-5, UC Davis 7-4, Montana State 8-4, Idaho 9-4. I could see Idaho potentially having a down year. They're losing their best receiver, they're losing their quarterback, they lost their running back, they lost their DB. I think they lost a couple more pieces on defense, but they lost a lot. So I'm gonna say either in a positive way, Eastern Washington, I could see their record changing, or in a negative way, Idaho was 9-4 last year with one playoff win and one playoff loss. I could see Idaho's record being negatively, being the worst negatively. I could see them potentially being towards the bottom of the conference, just based off everything they lost. Their best running back, best receiver, quarterback, DB. That's tough. So, that's my answer to that question. Thank you, Chris Powers, for your question. I appreciate it so much. Thank you. Next question, Robert Thurman. And I get this every week, and this is definitely what you guys care about. Who will be Montana's starting quarterback, or will they start a 2 QB system? I could definitely see them starting a 2 QB system to start the season next year. They did that this year. They did that this season, and obviously they had to move away from it due to how Clifton was playing and how, how things were looking for them. But I could see them starting out with the 2 QB system. Logan Fife being Logan Fife and Klee, maybe potentially splitting reps. But I could also see them starting Logan Fife. The guy has more college experience than Klee. He's a little older. I'm sure his experiences, what he's seen, what he's learned is a little bit broader than what Klee currently knows. So, I could see Logan Fife starting and them starting with him and just trying to roll the dice with him and seeing how it goes. I don't know. I've mentioned on multiple occasions that I think Klee Ayat will be the starter. I think he has the potential to be the starter. I think he has the ability to be the starter. But I've also mentioned that I think he's young, and I think he's going to need a little bit more time behind center, more live reps, game reps, to be able to, be the quarterback that everybody wants him to be, because I understand he has the talent. I understand he's shown the ability, but those live reps are different. Being able to play when the game speed is much faster than practice speed. I'll always say that, you have more adrenaline rushing in game, all that stuff. There's so many more things pulling at you during a game that can play a part into how you play in the game. So, I could see them 100% starting Logan Fife, but I could see them doing the 2 quarterback system as well. So those are my 2 options. You said who will be Montana's starting quarterback, or will they start a 2 QB system? I'm gonna give you 2 options. I could see them doing the 2 quarterback system with Logan Fife and Cat. 3 options, which is not really answering your question. I don't know. I'm not even gonna give you my 3 options because I just laid them out. I could see either Logan Fife or Keali'i Ayat starting, but I think it's between them 2. Colton Kynes, what was the biggest change? Thank you, Colton, for your question. What was the biggest change for you going from college to the Stars? How was life different? Just the fact that, I love my teammates from the Stars. Those are my dogs. Terry, Corey, I'm blanking. Dev, Roe, Jordan, all those guys, my teammates, I love those guys. But I would say in college, it's a much more friend type environment, because in professional football, you're fighting for a spot. So everybody, you're going to be friendly. We're joking around. We're having a good time. But at the end of the day, I got to eat. I got to feed my family. So it's there's levels, in college it's friendly and it's everybody trying to eat in college too. And especially now, I can imagine what it's like in those locker rooms now with people fighting for dollars and NIL and all that stuff. But, in college, it's much more friendly. I would say that was my first impression. It's just much more friendly in the meetings and everything. And not that those guys were mean, we had a great time. But I guess I'm just speaking on training camp. When you get into training camp, things are a little more tight than they are in college. Obviously, things are tight in college because, coaches are probably on your ass. You guys are probably running a lot. You probably super tired. But, everything is just so more high strung in professional settings because, when you're watching those meetings and we did meetings where we watched it with everybody. We're watching with the O-line. Well, the O-line would watch while we watched the pressure period and then they would go. But the O-line, the receivers, the running backs, and the tight ends, and then obviously the quarterbacks, we're all in the meetings together. And it just, every time you make a mistake, it's just you feel the magnitude of it. Every mistake is magnified. Every little thing that you do, every false step that you take, everything is magnified. And it's put under a magnifying glass. Every mistake, you got to minimize the margin for error. And the margin for error is just so small in professional football. And, the windows are much tighter. Everybody's much faster. And obviously, I've never played in the NFL, so everybody's probably even a step faster in the NFL. But I had tons of teammates that had played in the NFL who had been at that level and had experienced that. And, it's just different. It's just much more business-like, everybody's friendly. But at the end of the day, I'm trying to eat. So if you're in my way, that's a problem. And that was just my impression. Great competition, just to be able to compete. Much more relaxed too. Colton, this more than anything. We played under Houck, so Houck's a hard-nosed type football coach. He's gonna try to get the best out of you every day, and he's gonna push you to be that. Practices are gonna be hard. Training camp is gonna be hard. Winter condo is gonna be hard. Everything about playing under a Houck system is meant to be hard, so that when you get into the game, it's easy. In professional football, it's more so on you to get not more so on you to get yourself ready because we're still doing install and we're still doing the plays and everything. They're in that in practice, but practices are much more lighter.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
We're definitely not thudding the way we were at Montana. When we say thud, it's definitely thud, damn near two-hand touch. You're not even touching guys at practice a lot of times. And it's just much more geared towards keeping guys on the field for Saturday or Sunday. We played on Saturday and Sundays in the USFL. So it's much more geared towards keeping people healthy to play on Saturday and Sunday rather than it is to, push you and tire you out during the week like it was in college under Houck. That's just my personal experience with, being that I played under Houck and being that I played in the USFL. But, man, it was awesome. It was awesome. The differences are not very drastic, but there's little differences here and there about, the practices, the mentality of some of the guys, just few differences here, but it's amazing. And to play on a Sunday, and I guess I'll say this too, like, we're not practicing as much. We're not practicing as much in the USFL. Like, we play on Sunday, we get Monday off, we come in Tuesday, watch the film, and then I think that's all we're doing on Tuesday, and then we practice Wednesday, Thursday, and then Friday's really like a walkthrough, and then Saturday's another little walkthrough before we travel to wherever we're going to play at. So I'd say you practice much less in the USFL compared to college. College, we get Monday, so we play Saturday, we get Sunday off. Monday, we're doing a little walkthrough. This is under Houck. Monday, we're doing a little walkthrough. Tuesday, full pads. Wednesday, full pads, or, at least shells. We're going to be in shoulder pads on Tuesday and Wednesday. Thursday, fast walkthrough. You're sweating a lot. You're getting a lot of plays in on Thursday. And then Friday, obviously, we're getting another walkthrough in, and then we're traveling for the game. But less practices. You're definitely in pads, much less in professional football. At least in the USFL, we were in pads much less than I had been in college. And those are some of the differences. But thank you for your question, Colton. I appreciate it, and hopefully that answers your question. But that is going to do it for my questions today. I didn't actually get too many, but that's going to do it for my questions today. Hopefully I was able to answer you guys' questions effectively. I just want to say thank you guys for asking all those questions. Thank you guys for tapping into my channel. I appreciate it so much. I wouldn't be doing any of these videos if it weren't for you guys. So if there's any type of format that you guys want to see, any way that you guys would like me to answer some of these questions, let me know. But I appreciate you guys for asking everything that you've asked. I appreciate you guys for tapping into the channel. Please tell somebody you know to subscribe to the channel. Please tell somebody you know to come check me out, because I'm dropping videos every week. Got a new breakdown dropping later this week. A lot of you guys would really want to see that breakdown. It's a really good breakdown. I'm not going to tease it too much, but it's 3 guys I love a lot, and it's going to be an amazing video. And I hope you guys love it as much as I do, because I was really happy to be able to make it. And yeah, but thank you guys for tapping into my channel. Thank you guys for patronizing this content. Leave a like, leave a comment, let me know what you guys want to see next. Subscribe to the channel. Subscribe. I'll say it again, subscribe to the channel, please, and thank you. I'll catch you guys next week. See ya.